In 1914, millions of men went off to war, brimming with pride and excitement at the opportunity for glory. But no one could predict the bloody war that ensued, causing mass destruction to all involved. The war that few expected to last more than a year turned into a deadly, brutal 4-year war with almost no movement of the front lines. The war placed enormous strain on those at home who experienced the social, political, and economic transformations that were necessary to support the cost of war. The war caused drastic social changes to the role of women and children in society, while providing material for the first appearance of propaganda. Before the war, women were mainly confined to their houses, or worked as nurses, teachers, or in offices. But due to the lack of men in the country during the war, women filled in at traditionally male jobs. According to Millicent Fawcett, an influential feminist and president of the National Union of Women's Suffrage Societies during World War I, the war revolutionized the industrial position of women. It found them serfs and let them free. An eager force of 2 million women took up more physically demanding jobs, like the manufacturing of ammunitions to fuel the war, filling the void left by men in the working world. Women were not the only ones motivated to assist the war effort, as children did everything they could to participate. Young men were called upon to grow and harvest food anywhere possible, and were tasked with watching the skies to help alarm people of impending Zeppelin attacks. Meanwhile, girls knitted socks and scarves to keep soldiers warm, as well as collected eggs to feed the wounded. Finally, propaganda was used for the first time to motivate the non-fighting people to aid the war machine. The British, doing their bit propaganda slogan, asked for women and children to make ammunition and save food. These social developments, while caused by the war, affected those at home. The burden of supporting World War I led to the Russian Revolution, as well as prompted increased strictness of governments on the home front. The Russian Revolution introduced socialism, a massive shift in politics, to a previously autocratic nation. All private land was immediately nationalized, and crops were taken without compensation, while power was kept in this new regime using a brutal secret police. Elsewhere, governments also became progressively stricter as they passed laws that included censorship and the ban of certain objects and actions. One such example includes the DORA, or the Defense of the Realm Act, implemented by the British in 1914. These new laws restricted rumors of military matters and allowed for the government to censor any newspaper. The struggle to win the war led to governments taking tighter control of their people, as well as a revolution that would change the political landscape of Russia for decades to come. Heavy taxation and strict rationing were enforced during the warring period to allow for more supplies to be sent to the fighting men. Taxes were increased to keep up with the cost of the front lines, causing each purchase to be a burden for those at home. Harsh rationing was also enforced, making it rare for civilians to go to bed without an empty stomach. Look well at the loaf on your breakfast table and treat it as if it were real gold, because the British loaf is going to beat the German, read a British wartime leaflet, displaying the emphasis of the importance of rationing. In Germany, supplies were so depleted, people on the home front had to survive on half the normal amount that an active adult needed. The price of sustaining this war presented a burden for not only the soldiers, but also for those at home. Economically, politically, and socially, the changes to the home front had effects on the world for the decades to come. The conflict, although horrible, paved the way for women in the working world, as well as women in sports, as women's football had become increasingly popular in Britain. The new political path taken by the Russians set them up for conflict and hostilities for many years to come, while Germany's economic struggles continued. This war would prove to greatly alter history long after its conclusion.